Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming at you live and direct tonight from Black Facts Headquarters Central with another installment of Doc Ock at noon and 9. Hopefully y'all are all feeling really fine out there in live stream land. So let's see what we got tonight. Starting off with our proverb for the evening from a world-renowned poet by the name of Don L. Lee, otherwise known as Hattie. Yes, there we go. All right, and the poem for tonight is, or the proverb, for tonight is, there is much to be learned, there is much to be unlearned. And that's from the mind of Haki Madhubuti, otherwise known as Don L. Lee. And yep, that's that for tonight. And let's see the Black Fact for tonight. Let's see what we got. Okay. All right. Yeah, I believe here, if I'm not mistaken, in the year 2000, what b-ball legend became a vice president of the Washington Wizards franchise? I'm going to let y'all just ruminate on that one for a bit, and we'll come back to that before we go. Remind me, though, because, sometimes I do get a little forgetful around here. And in the meanwhile, we're going to read on about a journey to the promised land. Now, this is the last section we're going to read out of this book. Matter of fact, we should be able to read this whole chapter because they have very short chapters in here. And then tomorrow night, we'll move on to Pap Singleton because he's got a story to tell as well. So we'll have to see what old Pap has to say. Remember, I showed you his picture last night. Right up over here, we got Pap Singleton. Benjamin Pap Singleton. There he is. My man, my man. All right. Now, let's see what we got here. Chapter 6. Get a move on, Hattie. Mama called from the front room. We don't want to be late. Abraham, hold still. From the howls coming out of Abraham's mouth, Mama must be scrubbing his face. Hattie thought with a weak smile. Her stomach churned as she sat on the bed and buttoned up her shoes, freshly polished with lamp black. The poem raced through her head over and over. Thank God for little children, bright flowers by Earth's wayside. Oh, Hattie dear, you look a picture, Mama exclaimed as Abraham squirmed off her lap. She had on her Sunday best, too, a deep red calico dress with delicate silver buttons. Her hair was held in place with her most prized possession, a carved tortoiseshell comb studded with tiny black jet beads. Hattie knew it was a special occasion when Mom wore that comb. The door flew open as Papa came in. He stopped, dead, staring. Then he grinned. My, I'm the luckiest man to have such beautiful women. I might faint dead away with pride. Oh, Papa, you look splendid. His suit wasn't new, but Mama had carefully washed and brushed it the night before. Why, thank you, he replied. He hefted the well-packed lunch basket that was sitting on the kitchen table. Shall we? They set off to the church, a sweet honeysuckle breeze filling the air. Hattie loved walking through the city on Sunday. The crowds were gone and the streets were quiet when the small clapboard church came into view. Hattie's stomach did a heave. Knots of people in their Sunday best stood chatting near carefully tended flower beds of daffodils and tulips. A familiar face broke away from the crowd. Jacobs, so good to see you again. Singleton, Pap said, warmly shaking his hand. I'm surprised to see you here today. I've been speaking about Kansas at churches round Nashville, he replied. Hattie, Josephine waved madly from the church steps. Over here. Gratefully, Hattie raced to the church and gave Josephine a hug. I could hardly keep my oatmeal down this morning, Josephine said in a rush, her bright green hair ribbon shining in the sun. All these people. Don't even say it, Hattie nodded and pressed her hands to her stomach. Just then the church bell rang to call everyone inside. Hattie and Josephine grabbed hands and made their way to the front pew where the students sat. The recital would happen after the church service, and then there was a picnic. Hattie's mind whirled through the hymns, then the prayers, and then Reverend Jacob's sermon. Almost before she knew it, the Reverend said the final prayer and then closed his worn Bible. Now I know y'all didn't come here just to hear me preach, he began to soft laughter. This is a special day. Not only will we hear from some of the brightest students in our school, but we also have a guest, Mr. Benjamin Singleton. Singleton told them about Kansas and the opportunities to be found there. I've helped to establish 3 towns in Kansas, and all are doing well, he said. Kansas has land, plenty of land. I urge you all to consider leaving Tennessee. There's nothing here for black folks but pain and unfairness. Finally, he sat down and Hattie's teacher, Miss Banneker, rose. She was tall and elegant with delicate hands. She was the first black Yankee Hattie had ever met and the only grown-up she knew who had never been a slave. I'm very proud of these children, she said in her soft voice. They've worked hard for you today. One by one, the students got up in front of the congregation. The little ones sang songs or showed pictures they had drawn. A group of boys put on a wild play about pirates and treasure. Then it was Hattie's turn. Miss Hattie Jacobs is one of the best students in school, Miss Banneker said as Hattie stood beside her. Trembling, she has prepared a poem. Miss Banneker gave Hattie's hand a squeeze and sat down. Hattie looked out over the crowd of faces and her mind went blank. Then she caught sight of Papa standing in the back. He smiled and nodded, his eyes shining with love. Hattie took a deep breath. This poem was written by Miss Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, she began. She was born free in the North. Before the war, Miss Harper was a teacher. She helped slaves escape on the Underground Railroad. This poem is called Thank God for Little Chillin'. She glanced at Miss Banneker, whose lovely smile felt like sunshine on Hattie's heart. Hattie smiled back, and suddenly the words were there. Thank God for little children, bright flowers by Earth's wayside, the dancing, joyous lifeboats. Upon life's stormy tide, thank God for little children. When our skies are cold and gray, they come as sunshine to our hearts and charm our cares away. I almost think the angels who tend life's garden fair drop down the sweet wild blossoms that bloom around us here. If you didn't know any better, he might think that. Thunderous applause shook the little church. Hattie sat down, cool relief washing over her. Josephine was next, and everyone clapped for her too. Then the program was over, and the Reverend threw open the doors to the beautiful afternoon. The men quickly set up makeshift tables out of boards as the women laid out platters of ham, chicken, fried catfish, biscuits, and gravy greens, and more cakes and pies than Hattie had ever seen. She and Josephine filled their plates and found a shady spot in the tiny graveyard beside the church. I'm glad that's over, Josephine said, her mouth full of sweet potato. Hattie nodded. Miss Banneker caught Hattie's eye and smiled, then came over to them. Hattie, may I talk to you? Hattie, brushing the biscuit crumbs from her dress, stood up and followed her. Have you ever thought of becoming a teacher? Miss Banneker asked. You would make a fine teacher. Yes, I have, Hattie said slowly. Being a teacher had been a dream for so long, it felt strange to hear her voice say it out loud. But teachers' college is mighty expensive, Hattie continued, trying to keep the sadness out of her voice. Miss Banneker smiled kindly. Yes, it is expensive, she agreed. Have you ever heard of something called a scholarship? When Hattie shook her head, Miss Banneker continued. A scholarship is an award that colleges give to exceptionally good students. It pays for their college tuition. Colleges give away money? The idea never occurred to her. It never entered her mind. Do you think I'm good enough? She asked. You're more than good enough. If you worked hard, you could qualify for a scholarship. Hattie's breath caught in her throat. Oh, Miss Banneker, she's so happy. Suddenly there was a commotion as a rider tore down the street toward the church. Nat Jacobs, the blacksmith here, he yelled, his hat flying off his head. I'm Nat Jacobs, Papa called to the rider. Quick, come quick, your shop is on fire. It's on fire. It was as if a cannon had exploded into the crowd. Several women cried out as Papa and a dozen men took off toward the shop. The Reverend quickly hitched a wagon, and his wife took Abraham from Mama's arms, urging her to go. Excuse me. Soon, Hattie and Mama were racing through Nashville, Mama praying and crying the whole way. Hattie smelled the smoke as they got close. The sight that greeted them when they rounded the corner made her heart stop. People were running and shouting everywhere as black smoke billowed down the street. Firemen aimed a water hose at the flames, but only a tiny stream of water spit into the shop. A bucket brigade line snaked around the block, people passing buckets of water down the line to the fire wagon. Next to the tower of the fire, their efforts looked small and useless. Papa, Hattie screamed, jumping from the wagon. Papa! The terror she felt when he went to the meeting gripped her heart again. This time, would she lose him for good? Not if I can help it, she thought fiercely as she ran down the street. Hattie, Mama's voice cried from behind her, but she ignored it. Hattie knew when paper had to go to try to save towels. They were full-grown adults. These are the pictures. Oops. Well, we can't see them here. Hattie, excuse me, ran down the street and around the corner. He probably went through the alley into the back, she thought wildly, where the flowers weren't so bad. Strong hands grabbed her from behind, holding tight. Hattie screamed and jerked free, stumbling onto the rough dirt street. You can't go in there. It was Mr. Banks. But grime and soot covered his face and clothes. Where's Papa? Hattie cried, scrambling to her feet, her eyes singing and watering from the smoke. Hattie took a step toward the outside. Okay. I have to stop it there, cut it off there, and maybe we'll get one more chance to read from this book. But tomorrow I definitely want to read to you about Pap Singleton for sure. Answer to the question I believe for tonight. In the year 2000, what b-ball legend became a vice president of the Washington Wizards franchise? I believe that was Michael Jordan. I believe that was Michael Jordan. I think that's who it was. I'm going to have to go back and look that one up because I forgot for some reason to write down the answer. Always write down your answers. Okay, so that's my maxim for tonight. Always write down your answers. I had the question written down, but forgot to write down the answer. So meanwhile, all you little children out there in La La Land, here's what I need you to do right now. Anyhow, take your hands, put them under your face, lay your head down on your little place, on your little pillow. Close those your eyes and wait for that sun to rise. And when that sun, you see that sun beaming through your window, all up high up in the sky, that's when it's past time for you to be up, because you should have been up long time ago. So make sure to get a good night's rest and get up early. Don't stay up all night long just because you don't have to go to school tomorrow or anything like that. Now, last but not least, for you adults, I need some thumbs up on YouTube, and I need some subscribe buttons hit. It's your duty. Do your duty. Hit that button. It'll be a real beauty. And now if you're on Facebook, what I ask you to do there is something similar. Yes, you can click, you can like, you can do things, but even better if you made a donation to the cause. Take a pause for the cause, make a donation that won't make you have to hem and haw, because it'll be barely noticeable coming in and out of your bank account. All the information on how to do that is on our website on our donation page, or you can look on the website page on what do we call it? Oh shoot, I forgot. Well, at any rate, there's more than one place you can find it. Okay. Oh, I know, on the website. Look on the website. So that's the main place to go. Or you can find a link down there. Meanwhile, this is Doc Ock at noon and 9 signing off. I'll be back here with you tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, if anybody knows anything about these magazines here, if you worked on the Uhuru magazine or wrote articles for Uhuru, please drop us a line. You know how to find us. We're right there, readily available on Facebook every single day. You know my name, you know my game, you know what we do, you do what you do, I do what I do. But we can do some things together too. So let's work on that. So I'm looking for people that were at Kent State back in 1993 when this magazine came out. In the meanwhile, peace out without a doubt. I'll be black tomorrow at noon and 9. Doc Ock signing off.